This log is from SplinterNL, and here are the questions that SplinterNL raises. I'm not going to read them out to you. If you really want to, you can pause the video. I'm just going to work my way through. Um, and SplinterNL has also given us a config dump. Thank you very much. Splinter is using Betaflight, so we will expect to see the soft filters in effect. And let's just go down and look at what they're at. Gyro cut at 60, P-term cut at 40, D-term cut at 18. I can tell you already, when this first came out, Boris was suggesting D-term close to 18. And I've said in other places that I think Boris's quads are way cleaner than mine. And I don't know if mine is noisy or his is particularly clean, but my experience has been that I have to filter a lot more than he does. So I have a feeling that 18 or 20 is going to be too high for most people. And also, I've also seen him recommending that people maybe use lower numbers and suggested something like 5 hertz as the fundamental frequency for D term, because that's roughly, how fast your inputs actually go in, no more than like 5 inputs a second, even during radical maneuvers. So I can already tell you that I bet your D term could stand to be way lower, maybe down to something like 12 or 10, or heck, maybe even lower than that. I don't know. I mean, I'm still figuring out how low D term can go on my copter without, while still making flight better and not worse. But I can tell you already 18 is probably higher than it needs to be. The other thing Splinter asked about is yaw tuning. I doubt I'm going to be able to comment much on your yaw tune just from Blackbox. Yaw, there's so little authority on yaw that you can't look for things like oscillations. At least I haven't figured out sort of obvious telltale things to look for on yaw that are clear signs of changes that need to be made. I need to at least see a video or even just fly it and feel something I don't like on yaw, that once I feel it in flight, then I see it on the camera and then I can look in the logs. I doubt I'm going to be able to just look at the logs and tell you much. So I will say this about yaw though. Yaw jump prevention limit. You are on PID controller. Hang on. Surely you're on PID controller 1 or 2. 2. Yeah, so you're on Lux Float. So you're using yaw jump, whereas the other ones use yaw P limit. Yaw jump prevention limit is 200. I believe the default in stock is 100. I fly at 300, and I find that I don't like yaw performance at 200. Now I'm flying on PID controller 1, and I'm not flying Betaflight. But I would say that to anybody, if you have problems with yaw performance where it feels like your yaw is not responsive enough. It feels like maybe you're centering the stick and it's still sort of wandering, still sort of pulling into or out of the turn, or after the turn it kind of wanders a little bit. Raise yaw jump prevention limit. And what'll happen is that you'll be more likely to get motor surges after strong yaw, which if that happens, then you kind of got to pick your poison. I find that having a higher yaw jump prevention limit is preferable to me, and I just learned that if I'm going to do a strong yaw maneuver, I need to lower the throttle, and that sort of becomes second nature, that kind of throttle management, to the point where you can just do it. That works for me. So try raising that if you don't like your yaw performance to maybe 300. Okay, so let's set that aside as well. Let's take a look now. I've got the trace loaded up, and there are, I don't know, there's a 1 minute 40, there's a 38 second and a 34 second trace. Splinter says that I term is 0.15 in the first section and 0.20 in the last section. I guess what he must mean trace 1 and trace 6, I suppose. Let's take a look there. As usual, I'm going to start by looking at the gyros and the motors. Gyros and the motors. And let's just see roughly how our filters are doing. And I'm going to zoom all the way out. Oh man, gyro traces look fantastic. Isn't that nice? I never did see. Gyro LPF is 188 here. So we have even a little more filtering than we normally would under, if we were running gyro LPF equals 256. Very thin traces. hardly any noise at all. Very nice. Can't really complain about this. Splinter asked whether the gyro filtering could actually be less. Maybe it's over filtered. Yeah, I think you could stand to have less. I mean, if you like the way it flies now, don't change it. But at the same time, if you've been watching this series, you'll see these are some of the thinnest lines I think I've ever seen since I started doing this series. So you could certainly stand to have less. Right now you are at gyro cut hertz equals 60. And try taking that up to maybe 80 or even 100. You've also got p-term cut hertz at 40. And I suspect you could raise your p-term cut hertz a little bit if you wanted to. Maybe no higher than 50. I don't think there's any reason to have p-term cut hertz higher than 50. At least that's the guideline that I've sort of intuited. Um, but maybe raise that a little bit. That'll just decrease your latency a little, just a little bit. As far as your motors go, let's zoom in a little bit to have a look at the motors. Yeah, they look nice and smooth, don't they? Even in these sort of extreme cases, we don't see sort of jagged shark fins or Pac-Mans, as it were. Is it over filtered? Again, uh, if it flies good and you like it, then it's not over filtered. But if you raise those gyro cut to maybe 80 or maybe even as high as 100, a p-term cut from 40 to 50, if you find that it flies better, feels sharper, then keep it. If you find that you raise that up and you start getting kind of weird little random twitches and sort of weird sort of medium frequency vibrations during just normal forward flight, then that's a sign that they need more filtering. But you're definitely not under filtered at this point. As far as the I term goes, it's very hard to assess the I term without a video, because what I would do for an I term is I would look at the video when you do like a hard punch out. That's my sort of metric, my gold test for if your I term is about right. You do a hard punch out and you look at whether your pitch goes up or down. As far as roll and yaw, just going to sort of hover and maybe fly forward slowly and feel for, look for whether it seems to be holding heading. And then as you get into more aggressive flight, the P term becomes more dominant in sort of maintaining attitude. In other words, if you're just flying straight forward, the I term will settle into a value that holds the attitude of the copter. But if you're doing radical maneuvers, then those changes that are happening in the copter, the buffeting of the wind and so forth, is happening too fast for the I term to respond, and the P term becomes more important. So if you found that you were destabilized during radical maneuvers, you might think that you needed to raise the P term, assuming that you weren't at the oscillation point already. Raising the I term will help a little bit in those radical maneuvers, but you have to raise the I term a lot more to maintain attitude over shorter time frames compared to the P term. And so oftentimes if you raise the I term enough that I is holding the copter's attitude even during sort of radical maneuvers, you'll find that it's way too stiff during less radical maneuvers and unresponsive. But anyway, if you want to check your I term, I would do punch outs. That's what I would do. Also, fly up to maybe 20 meters and drop, and then jam the throttle toward the bottom and see if it pitches or rolls. It's probably going to be more likely pitch there. That's how I would do that. Okay, so let's just take a look. We'll take a look at the yaw axis. Gyro plus PID yaw. Actually, whoops. I want to see this. I got a Nick, give me profiles, please. Please give me profiles so I can set up. Don't have to set this up by hand every time. Nick knows we want that. I'm going to use my bully pulpit to beg. Okay, what do we got on yaw? Let me just zoom out again and take a look. Okay, here's a move. Yay, a move! Something I can look into. Oh, here's another one. Fantastic, fantastic. Zoom, yeah. We definitely have some, I can't believe it. We have some oscillations on the yaw axis. Am I really looking at the yaw axis? I am. And we have oscillations on the yaw axis. Wow. Is this a case where yaw P is too high? I can't believe it. I'm so suspicious. Oh my gosh, look, we have oscillations at the gyro too. The yaw gyro. It's the never before seen in the wild. This is the Bigfoot of copter tuning. We have oscillations on the yaw axis. Oh my God, I think this might be the first time I've ever said, I think your yaw P might be too high. Your yaw D could stand to be a little higher too. Again, I'm not looking at the flight video and I'm not feeling the sticks, just looking at the traces. The magnitude of the yaw D here is so much smaller than the P. So first bring the P down a little bit to see if you get rid of these oscillations. And actually, you got them. They're all the time. Look at that. It's all over the place, even when you're not doing very much, right? But anytime you get a move here, you get these oscillations. I don't know. I mean, what were you doing at this very moment? The throttle went up. Is your throttle up? It's at 1600. That's not that high. Okay, here's a yaw move. This is a right turn. Gyro and RC command seem roughly in sync. We do not here, notice the gyro here. We do not have on the gyro during this move any oscillation. That's good. And also notice that the P and the D term are very close to the axis. This means what we got here is that the copter went into the maneuver and P term pushed it into the maneuver, and then it achieved the desired angular rate and stayed there. That's very good. This is a very well operating PID loop to my eyes. And then, whoops, we got to slow down. The stick is returning to center. Slow down. Had a little bit of overshoot here. You can barely see it from the gyro trace. We do have, again, a little bit of oscillation here. Amazing. Gyro does return to 0 roughly. It's a little bit lagging the RC command. That's normal. It's lagging by what 8.422, and now it gets down to 0 at 8.493. I say lagging. I mean that's like nothing you would notice. So as far as yaw goes, I would say, what's your P at? Let me look. You gave me your dump. Yaw set. You're on 2, so it's going to be the float is 8. You're at P yaw F equals 8 on Lux float. Yeah, that's crazy high. That's crazy high. That definitely needs to be lower. Granted, on yaw you can have higher P gain because of the lack of authority. But yeah, now that I see that it's 8, I'm not surprised. I say maybe I'm just pulling a number out of my butt. Try taking that down to 5 and see if that's better. Leave D alone for now. Leave D alone for now because possibly when you bring P down, D will be more proportional. As far as filtering goes, your D trace. Let's look at your other D traces real quick. I'm close to the limit on my recorder now, so I don't want to run out of time. Let's do a custom graph and PIDD sub yaw and PIDD sub pitch and PIDD sub roll. Oh, I could have just done PIDD. Whoops. And let's get these RC command out of there. And look at that. So yeah, it doesn't actually look that bad. The pitch trace, you can see some noise in it. It could stand to be filtered more. The yaw trace kind of doesn't look too bad. It looks like your D terms as a whole are pretty low. Yeah, I see your D on roll is 20 and your D on pitch is 30. So I think your D terms could generally, on pitch and roll, your D terms could probably stand to be higher, and it probably would not hurt to lower your filtering. With a filtering of 18, it looks actually pretty good. Maybe that's because your copter is just very noise free. Your gyro traces look great too. I don't know. But just on principle, I think you could lower the D a little bit. The D cut hertz, maybe from 18 to maybe 15, maybe 14, and see if that's better. So decrease yaw P, lower D term cut hertz, raise D on pitch and roll. Those are my guesses. And as far as I goes, I don't know. I need to see some punch outs to really tell, and I need to see the flight video. Okay, that's it. I'm running up on my 15-minute limit on my free screen recorder. Yay. Hope that was helpful. Bye-bye.